Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I plan on reading in June. I am still planning on mainly mood reading in June. I have a lot of books that I need to carry over from last month's TBR because I just haven't managed to get to them yet. I also have this stack of books down here that have been mentioned in a few TBRs that I would really like to get to. Of course, that's not going to be possible. I am still working full-time and I'm working at the weekends and after school most days in our new house. So I do have to be a little more realistic, which is why I've put together this specific TBR for the month of June. Before I dive into the video though, I would just like to apologise for my lack of videos recently. I have had a very chaotic few weeks in terms of things to do with the house. I've also had a lot of things going on at work and needing to try and find another job in September. So I've had a few interviews, one of them was successful, a few weren't, and yeah, there were a lot of lows, but obviously it is good news now that I do have a job in September. It's only for a year, which is a bit annoying because it means I'm going to be in the same boat this time next year, but at least I know now that I do have something stable for this upcoming year. I then went on a trip to Spain. I was very kindly given a spot on a Spanish immersion course. It was a fully funded course aimed at teachers, and I think around 16 of us from North Wales were invited to go to Spain, to Valencia, for a full week, learn some Spanish, learn about their culture, and just be immersed in the language and the history and culture of the place, as I mentioned. I had planned on filming a vlog for you guys, which I did start filming. However, we were so busy every single day that I didn't really get a spare moment to sit down and film for you guys, and on the days that we were out and doing stuff, it didn't feel natural for me to whack out the camera because of course this was something I was doing as part of my job in a way. I was with other teachers, I didn't want to have the cameras out in their faces because the majority of the week we were all together. So I do have a few random clips that I may put together in some sort of TikTok video or YouTube shorts, but unfortunately I don't have a full vlog for you guys as I had planned. All that to say though, I will hopefully be back with at least one video a week for you guys. I'm aiming to stick to the upload schedule of uploading every Sunday afternoon, and then if I do film some more, I will post those during the week. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Thank you so much once again for being so patient with me. It's been a whirlwind. I feel like I'm saying that a lot at the minute, but it's just a very crazy few weeks and I feel like I am still going to be quite busy up until the summer holidays, so we'll just see how everything goes. I do also want to say that Kiwi is sat on my lap here. She is very clingy because Tom's been at the house all morning, so if you can hear her, if anything's shaky, I do apologise, it's her fault. Right, getting on into the TBR. I do have 4 books that I would like to get to this month, which is definitely on the shorter side, but as I've mentioned, I have been in a bit of a weird reading mood recently. I've carried a lot of books over because I just haven't been prioritising them. So I do have a very big stack of books that I could potentially read this month, but I have narrowed it down to these 4 that I would definitely like to get to. Starting off with Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Julian McAllister. Some of you may know that I am participating in Buzzwordathon this year, which is a year-long readathon hosted by Kayla over at Books and Lala. Every month you need to read a book that fulfills a specific prompt. The prompt for June is to read a book that has repeating words in the title, and for me this is Wrong. I've been doing so good with this TBR, guys. I have completed every single one so far, so I'm hoping that is going to be the case with this one. I bought this one when it first came out. Was it last year or the year before? I honestly can't remember, but the premise just sounds so good. So in this one we follow a woman, and one day she sees her son stab a stranger. She does not know why, she doesn't know how it's gotten to this point, what he's involved in. All she knows is that she's seen it happen and she doesn't know what to do. She goes to bed as usual and just tries to clear her mind. However, the next day she wakes up and it's actually back to the day before. So she's gone back in time and has landed in the time before her son killed this stranger. And it says here, somewhere in the past lie the answers, a reason for this crime and your only chance to stop it. So I feel like it's going to be a lot of back and and forth. I am very intrigued by the premise of this book and how it's all set out. I'm hoping it's going to be a fast-paced book which will make me just want to sit down and devour it. I feel like that's been my problem with a lot of books that I've been picking up recently, is that I'm just not fully invested, and so I read a bit, I put the book down, and then I'm just not inclined to pick it back up. So I'm hoping that a change of pace with this one will be exactly what I need. It's one that I've been wanting to get to for a while as well. I have put it on a few TBRs and I did plan on taking it on holiday with me last year, however I didn't get to it. So I'm glad that Buzzwordathon is finally making me pick this one up. I haven't really heard too many things about it either, so I am diving in blind, which is how I like it, especially with a thriller, because I feel like if you have some set expectations then it never actually is as good as you think it's gonna be. So hopefully I do enjoy this one. As I've said, it's an interesting premise and I really hope that the execution is done very well. The next book I would like to get to is one that was mentioned on last month's TBR, and that one is Fate and Furies by Helen Shurer. This is such an anticipated book for me, but I keep putting it off. I think I'm just scared to dive in and see what is going on with these characters, because the ending of the second book was insane, and yeah, because of that I've just been putting it off. We are not in the best situation in this world right now, and I just don't know what's going to happen and what our characters are going to do. So I'm putting it on this TBR to force myself to get to it. I do have this book on my Kindle, but I did buy myself a physical copy just because I love this series. I love the first and second books, and I'm hoping that the third one is going to make me feel the same way as well. I feel like this series is a little difficult to describe. It is a fantasy romance, and in this world women aren't allowed to wield any weapons. That is because a prophecy came to light that said that one day a woman who could wield a weapon would bring about the downfall of this society. So of course the men freaked out and they stripped the women of all their ranks and all their weapons. But our main character Thea doesn't really like following the rules. She has been secretly training herself to use weapons because her dream is to become a warrior of Thesma. Now the warriors are, I guess, more of an imperial army. Their job is to protect the kingdom and the realm from outside forces and any magical occurrences that could lead to dangerous outcomes, and she has wanted this her whole life, but of course with the laws in place it seems impossible for this to become a reality. That is until one day a man called Wilder Hawthorne catches Thea training in the woods and brings her in front of the king. Without spoiling anything, somehow Thea manages to gain the approval of the king and she is enlisted into a training camp in order to train to become a warrior of Thesma. However, this comes with a lot of different challenges, both mentally and physically, and we do follow her as she has to try and overcome so many different obstacles and hurdles that are thrown at her during her journey to become what she's always wanted to be. Whilst this is going on, there is also a magical threat building up against this society. The most renowned warriors are sent out to deal with it, however the threat seems to be a lot more dangerous than they could have imagined, and they need the warriors of Thesma to essentially be trained and ready for battle immediately. And so we follow Thea as she's kind of sucked into the craziness of all of this stuff that's going on, as well as the bond she forms with one of the other characters in here, which leads to a lot more complications than she may have first thought. Hopefully that sums it up well. I've read the first two books, as I mentioned now, and I really don't want to give too much away. All I'll say is that it's a fantastic series. The characters in here are what makes it for me. However, I do really enjoy the setting and the magic at work as well. It's a very fast-paced book that's full of action, so I feel like the majority of people would enjoy this one. And yeah, I can't wait to get to the third book. The fourth book is out, I think, later on this month actually, so I definitely need to get a move on and read this one so that I can read that fourth one. I don't know if that's the conclusion, but I will need to read it as soon as possible. So hopefully I can manage to get this one read. I do have it on my Kindle as well, which is how I will probably read it, and I feel like that will make me want to pick it up more and make me want to fly through it. The next book that I would like to get to is The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, which is the second book in the Daevabad trilogy. I put The City of Brass on my May TBR, which is the first book in the series. At the point that I'm filming this video, I haven't really really made a dent in it. I think I'm about 100 pages in, so I definitely need to pick up the pace with that one because this book is even bigger. I do own all 3 books in this trilogy. I have read the first one before and I did enjoy it. However, for some reason I never carried on with the second and third books. But when Katie and Cass revealed that the David Bad trilogy was going to be the next series that they were tackling for Wizards and Words, which is their book club, I decided to join in because I read all of the An Ember in the Ashes series as part of their book club recently, and I really enjoyed the experience of reading the book, discussing it with the bookish community, and then joining in on the live show discussion. And so I thought this would be a fun way to consume this series as well. Now, even though I'm 100 pages into the first book, I am not really sure how to describe it to you, so I'll give it my best shot. All I know so far is that we follow our main character Nari, who lives in Cairo and essentially makes a living by swindling a bunch of desperate people. She is a healer. She has always had this gift that lets her know what is wrong with a person and how they can go ahead to treat it. However, in a lot of these cases, people come to her and they don't actually have anything wrong with them, and she takes money from them to assess them, I suppose, and give them a diagnosis, and then she sends them down the road to her friend's apothecary so that they give this friend some business. It's worked very well for a while. However, one day Nari gets in way too deep when she accidentally summons a djinn. I have had to check Goodreads for the second half of the synopsis because I haven't gotten to that part in the book yet, but it says, the warrior tells her a new tale. Across hot, windswept sands teeming with creatures of fire and rivers where the mythical married sleep, past ruins of once magnificent human metropolises and mountains where the circling hawks are not what they seem, lies Daevabad, the legendary city of brass, a city to which Nari is irrevocably bound. In that city, behind gilded brass walls laced with enchantments, behind the gates of the 6 Jinn tribes, old resentments are simmering. And when Nari decides to enter this world, she learns that true power is fierce and brutal, that magic cannot shield her from the dangerous web of court politics, that even the cleverest of schemes can have deadly consequences. After all, there is a reason they say be careful what you wish for. As I've said, I'm not really that far into the book, so I haven't really experienced what the synopsis is saying is going to happen yet, but it is one that I am currently reading, so hopefully I can finish it off pretty soon. I do think I'm also going to try and listen to the audiobook where I can, just to speed up my reading a little bit so that I can dive into the second book. I have missed out on the live show for the first book, which is a shame, and I really don't want that to be the case with this one, so hopefully I can prioritize it and read this one. But as I've said, this is a chunky book. I think it's over 600 pages, so wish me luck. This is the biggest book on my TBR, but hopefully I will enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what is actually going to happen and where our characters end up. And then the last book that I'm going to put on this set TBR for June is Morning Star by P.S. Brown. This is the 3rd book in the Red Rising trilogy. I am still calling it a trilogy because I don't know if the second set of books has a different name, but the first 3 books were intended as a trilogy, so I'm just going to go with it for now. I read Red Rising and Golden Sun last month and completely fell in love with P.S. Brown's writing and the world and the characters, and again I've kind of put this book off because I've just been scared to read the conclusion. I have no idea where this book is going to go. The second book and the ending just honestly blew my mind. I still can't comprehend what actually happened. So again, I've been scared to dive into this one because I just don't want to see what is going on because it's bleak, it's horrible. Yeah, our characters are not in the best situation, so I have been dreading it, but I'm also desperate to read it and see how it all plays out and what the conclusion is. I feel like, again, this is going to be a synopsis that I'm going to butcher, but in the first book we follow our main character Darrow, who is a Red. Now, Reds are the lowest of society. They essentially have no rights and are treated like slaves, but they actually are not aware of that. They think that they are doing important work on Mars and that they are collecting some precious elements that will help colonize Mars and will mean that all the other colours from society can come there and live there, essentially. What they don't know though is that Mars has been habitable for years. People have been living there and essentially profiting off the work of the Reds, and one day something happens that changes Darrow's whole perspective on the caste system and what is going on in the world. And so he is recruited to essentially try and infiltrate the Golds. Now the Golds are the highest people in society. They are essentially treated as gods, and a group of rebels recruit Darrow and put him into the Golds command school with only one aim, which is to bring them down from the inside. The command school is awful though. It's essentially a killing field, and Darrow has to face a lot of different challenges that he wasn't expecting, and soon finds that he isn't the only one there with a specific agenda. There are a lot of different characters from noble families that are there to prove themselves and are there to fulfill some personal goals, and this of course brings more chaos and puts Darrow's life in danger more than once. I feel like that was a rubbish synopsis, I'm so sorry, but this is such a complex series. It is a sci-fi series, I don't know if I mentioned, but as someone who doesn't typically read sci-fi, I've had the best time with this one. I feel like it reads very fantastical at some points rather than sci-fi. Even though it's set completely in space, I haven't really noticed it too much. I feel like with a lot of sci-fi I feel a bit stupid because I can't quite comprehend what's going on and I can't follow along as I normally would in a fantasy, but I had no problems with this one. I feel like because the characters are so compelling, you are able to follow along and you know what's going on. But yeah, as I mentioned, I'm terrified to dive into this one because I don't know how it's all gonna wrap up. I'm hoping that it's gonna be a lovely, nice ending for everyone, but that's definitely gonna be the case because Pierce Brown has proved that he is ruthless with his characters in the first two books, and yeah, I'm not gonna get my hopes up that high because I feel like that is definitely unrealistic. So there we have it. These are the 4 books that I would definitely like to get to this month. I do feel like I'm being a little bit ambitious because I do have some chunky books on there, and I am in the middle of 1 or 2 as well, and again I have more that I really do need to prioritize, but these are going to be my set in stone books that I need to read, so they should be done by July. If you have made it this far through into the video and would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and leave me some sort of time related emoji down below. The first book I showed you was Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and with time travel being an element in this book, I feel like that will be a pretty fitting emoji to represent this video. I say it all the time, but seeing you guys comment the emoji of the video truly does mean the world to me. It blows me away that you guys watch these all the way through. So if you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say but you would like to know that you're still here, please go ahead and comment that now. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Thank you once again for being so patient with me. I can't wait to get back into the swing of filming and posting videos for you guys again. BookTube brings me so much joy. I love putting out these videos for you guys, and when you interact with me it just means the world. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and I will see you again soon in my next one. Goodbye!